Morning, gang. It is September 29th, and it's a beautiful morning in Georgia. Temperatures come down a little bit, humidity's coming down, so that's good. Fall is here, and I need to get some stuff done on this car. As many of you have seen in my previous videos, I've done a bunch of sheet metal work to this car, and I've started doing the conversion of putting disc brakes on it, and along with that I'm going to put on power steering and a vintage air kit. So in my previous video I put on these fender aprons, core support, and then I sprayed everything with epoxy primer. And as a follow-up, I've scuffed everything, and I'm going to spray all the engine bay and firewall with this Krylon Black Satin Max. I've never tried it, but satin is what I want, and I think it'll do fine for this car. It's not a show car, it's just going to be a daily driver type of car, and just want it to look good underneath the in the engine bay. So with that, I'm going to spray all this because in my sequence I'm going to add the power steering, I think, next, because it's lowest on the frame and I've already got the old box out of the way, and then I'll work my way up doing the brakes and that sort of thing. So currently I've started taking loose, or I have taken loose, everything but the idler arm on the passenger frame. So I'll get that out of the way, and that's pretty simple. A couple of 9/16 bolts, and then I'll determine whether I'm going to use that idler arm or replace it. Now, here's all the stuff that I'm working with at this point. I've got the the power steering conversion kit is from Borgeson, and it comes with the pump and bracket already attached to the pump. It comes with, of course, the power steering box, hardware to mount it. It comes with the pressure hose and the return hose, the mount kit for the power steering pump itself, and then a new rag joint that'll take care of the old one. So here's the old manual steering box, and I have to determine as well whether I'm going to be able to use, or if I have to get another Pitman arm. So I'll have to get that off of there, and that's basically going to involve removing this great big nut and getting a puller on there and pulling this off. So let me show you some other things. I've got these are the inner tie rods, new connecting sleeves, and then these two outer tie rod ends actually came with the disc brake kit. So I did not order separately. Those came with the kit. So those are going to get transferred on and create the new steering assembly off the drag link. Beyond that, I've got a new set of shocks to go on it, and my new rebuilt towers to hold the shocks. And if any of you have done this, you know that basically you have to feed the shock down through, bolt it on down there to the perch, or to the lower control arm perch. I'm sorry, upper control arm perch, and then mount the upper bracket and hold everything in place. So those are going to go on. Now, I'm skipping around a little bit here. When I took the front end apart and started going through the wiring, I noticed that this harness, as is pretty common, people tend to hack things. They merged the alternator harness into the main harness. So I didn't care for that too much. And after looking it over and finding a variety of splices and different things, I found this thing had melted. Yep. So whatever's going on with this one, I'm not using it. I'm not going to use it. So I replaced it. This is a new harness to replace that harness, and then I've also added the alternator harness. So that'll take care of the wiring. Also got a clip kit from Mustang's Unlimited. You can see the part number there, and that should give you all the retainers for the wiring harness. So that takes care of that sort of stuff. From there, I ordered again from or picked up from Mustang's Unlimited classic tube brake line kit, and it comes with the long line that goes down the firewall to the rear brakes, the line that goes on the firewall, And of course they bend these, and you have to unbend, take these bends out to make everything work. And then here you have the other pieces, like lower disc left front. Missing some letters there, so I kind of had to make that up. But you know, these pieces and parts are all here to replace all of the steel lines. The rubber lines came with my disc brake kit, so I'll take care of those separately. Along with that, my disc brake kit did not come with a proportioning valve or a combination valve. It came with a separate proportion valve that would have mounted to the original metering block. And so I bought this at Mustangs Unlimited. It does have the wire connector on top. They sell another version of this. It comes with a bracket and some hard lines, but I was unsure if the hard lines were going to work, and so I skipped over that one and just got the basic combination valve or proportioning valve, and that's the part number for that. Hopefully that works. I may end up having to make a bracket to mount that, which isn't a big deal. Back here, this is the rest of the disc brake kit, and I'll go over that when I start installing that stuff. This is from CSRP, and so far I've been real happy with everything that I've taken out of the box from them. So I'm going to get started on getting this stuff on the car, and first step will be to get some paint on this engine bay and get it looking nice, and then go from there. Okay, I've started installing the power steering box, as you can see here, and a couple things. I slipped the rag joint on. It's not tight yet, it's just sitting on there, and the rag joint has pins on it, and one is fatter than the other. You have to make sure you get the alignment right with your steering wheel. Now my steering wheel is indexed what would be straight right now. However, because I had manual steering, the post or the shaft, it was way out here, and I was able to strike this with a mallet and drive it back up into the steering column and make room to put the box in place. So all I have left to do is put the nuts on. And the other thing is, I don't know that how the steering box is indexed, and what I mean by that is on the end of it where the Pitman arm goes, it's keyed. It's only going to fit one way, and so I don't know right now if the box is center or if I need to turn it left or right to find center. So I'm not going to fully bolt this on, but I am going to experiment and turn the wheel left and right and try to make sure that the steering box is at center so that the Pitman arm will be in the right location. Okay, at this point I've decided to use the drag link and the idler arm. So I've cleaned those up, wire brushed them, and they're currently drying with some paint on them. So I thought I'd start building the tie rod ends. Well, let me show you. I didn't know if I show you the part numbers or not. That is the part number, right and left. It's the same for either side. The sleeve, same thing. Part number is the same from right and left. So the Moog kit here, they came with the the long tie rod, which is the inner, came with a nut and a pin, and then the kit that I got for my power steering came with a Zerk fitting and a pin, and the nut as well is on the end of it. So the only difference is one has left hand threads and one has right hand threads, so you have to make sure you put this on the right way. In this case, the inner has reverse threads and the outer has regular threads. Pretty simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the length of each one to match as close as I can to the one that I took off. And the reason for that, well, whenever I go to get the I need to drive it, I'll have it fairly close, and also when I go to get the final alignment done, they won't have to go very far. And you can see there's a ton of difference in length unless you adjust these in fully. So that's where I'm at on that, and I'm waiting for the paint to dry on the drag link. Okay, at this point, I'm going to pull off this Pitman arm. Whether I need it or can use it, I don't know. But to take it off, I have this big socket set, and these are from Harbor Freight. One of these big kits, 7-piece half-inch drive axle nut kit. And this worked. This was a 34 millimeter, and that's fine. And I also had this Pitman arm puller. I've had it for quite a while, and I've used it before. And I'm going to see if it'll pull this off. I have not even put any torque on this yet, but basically you just slip it over, Pitman arm, tighten down the center shaft, and push it into the center of the post. So let's see what happens. That's not working. Okay, since that didn't work, I'm going to try another one. This is the tie rod end puller that I have. See if that can do something different. Yeah, that worked. So now I have to see if that'll fit my new steering box. Clean this up, and things look pretty solid, so I'll probably end up using this. Okay, so as I move further along with this power steering box, I found that the Pitman arm can actually go on, I think, in 4 different locations. There are fat areas in the grooves, so it'll actually line up 4 different ways. But obviously you need it to be lined up pretty much in the direction it is right now. Now what I did is I loosely assembled everything, and I had one tie rod on, and I turned the wheel full lock to lock, and essentially it was off about a quarter of a turn, maybe half a turn. And what I found was the coupler with the rag joint here, it'll fit anywhere on the spline shaft for the steering box. So what I did is I zeroed out the steering box by turning it full turns left, full turns right, figuring out that it was 4 turns lock to lock, so 2 turns would be center. I hope that makes sense. Once I found center, I discovered that's when the steering wheel was off, like I said, about a quarter to a half a turn. So I took everything back apart, indexed the steering wheel, and then I indexed the coupler to match the steering wheel, or the column. Now once that's in place, on this one, on this kit, there's a lock bolt with an Allen head right here, and basically you tighten that up against the shaft, and then you tighten that jam nut, which I haven't done yet, but that'll keep that from coming out. Beyond that, the Pitman arm fit fine from the manual steering box. And then what I also discovered when I was looking at the driver's side tie rod, these two are bottomed out against each other. The threads from the inner and the outer end are bottomed out. And so when I put everything together and I had the wheel straight, put in the new tie rod assembly, I found the same thing. It had bottomed out. Well, that's not good. I needed to have some adjustment. So what I did is I cut off a little over ½ an inch of the threads off of the long half. And now I've got room in between, and my gap length is about the same. So you can call me crazy if you want, but that's an easy fix to make up some space. So now I'm gonna put the tie rods back on and check my adjustments, and then I'll probably pull them back off and throw some paint on them, and then put them in permanent. And then of course, you know, that'll get adjusted later for the alignment. Other than that, I'm playing around with stuff like the brake line too. This new kit is a little bit different than what was in there, but I had also ordered a kit for power brakes rather than manual brakes. So you can see my tape right there. That's basically telling me where I'm going to have my little clips that hold the lines to the car. And same way with this, the big line that runs all the way to the back. I did the same thing. I laid them up against each other and I put tape where the clips are going to go. Just an easy way to make sure I'm in the area. I think I'm probably going to replace these clips. I don't like the way they look. The condition's not that great, so that's not going to go on just yet. But again, I was just experimenting with the brake line. Now, one other thing. To make this line work, and these lines bend pretty easily, I'll say that, it's going to have a loop on this end. Instead of being straight, I'm pretty confident, well, maybe not. I'll have to see how the new hose comes out. I might be able to go straight into that fitting. The only reason I say that is the one I took off, again, it was a manual system, so I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but the one that I took off was shorter. The length of it overall was shorter. There was actually a union here and then a secondary piece that went further out. And if I remember correctly, yeah, that's it right here. There's the union, and see there it had this loop on the end. Whereas the new one I just put in doesn't have that loop. So I'll have to figure that out. Shouldn't be a big deal. I'll just set the rubber line first and go from there. Hope I'm not taking up too much of your time, but I'm trying to share as much information as I can. Okay, so I have everything installed. Power steering box, Pitman arm, tie rod ends, drag link, idler arm, everything's in place and everything fit just fine. Everything's tight, and I'm going to move on because that's all I can do with the power steering until the engine's in place and I have the pump and hard line, or the rubber lines to put in. So I'm going back to playing with the brakes, and to show you, this is the rest of the CSRP kit, and it comes with the booster and master cylinder assembly. It did come with a proportioning valve, which I won't be using that because I bought that other one. Rubber lines, new brake pedal, and assorted bolts and hardware that come with it. So that'll be the end of this video, and I'll get started on that stuff next. And I'm just pretty happy to be making some progress. So again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.